Okay, for this project, I'm going to show you one approach that you can take to this color portrait of your face. Again, we're going to create a new file in Photoshop here. And we're going to go 540 by 720 pixels here. So I've already got that number set up here. 540 by 720 is our dimensions. And we're going to click Create. And there's our canvas there. Let me make that a little bit bigger. Close this. Now, the easiest way to get your image in there is just to go find your image that you saved for Project 1 and just bring it in. Here, let's see. Here's right here. I could use this JPEG of my face, and you just drag it in. Give it a second. It's going to take a minute to, there we go. And notice there it fills right into the 540 by 720 window. So if I go up to image and go to image size, for example, let me hit enter there. Again, image size, again 540 by 720, so we're good. We don't have to do any resizing that way. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to bring in is the posterized image from Project 1. So you may want to save this out from Project 1 if you still have it. And drop that in, hit enter. And now we have my drawing here and also my posterized image. Now it looks like it turned these into smart objects automatically, which we're not really going to be dealing with smart objects, so we'll need to what's called rasterize these images. So let's see if we can do it right here. So what you do is you right click on the layer. This little box inside of it in your layer window tells you it's a smart object, which are awesome in and of themselves, but you'll deal with those in the more advanced Photoshop. But let's right click on this, and we're just going to select rasterize layer right here. Same thing with this one. Right click, choose rasterize layer. Now these layers are ready to go. You see those boxes are gone. They're no longer smart objects. So we're going to make sure that we're colorizing on the top layer here, which is our line drawing, but our posterized image is beneath it. And let me show you why I brought that in. What I can do is click on the posterized image layer here. On the line drawing on the top, and grab this opacity slider just above the layers and drag it down on that layer, and you can see beneath it is the posterized image with the different values. What that'll do is help me decide which colors I'm going to use to fill in the 4 or 5 different values that I have on here. It looks like I have about 5 different values at the most. So I'm going to limit my colors to only certain colors. I'm going to use what are known as complementary colors. Okay, so that's something that helps you to understand when you're doing some kind of color project. So let's minimize this. We're going to go over to Google. Now, if you look in the week 3 assignment module, you'll see color schemes for viewing. It's just beneath the Photoshop shortcuts. If you click that, you're going to get all kinds of different colors that you can look at. What I want to look at are the color wheels here. So I'm going to click on this, and I'm just going to download one of these color wheels. Let's try number 2. So I'm going to click the arrow to download it. Click on the color wheel, and notice there, now we have, let me zoom in on this. We have a nice color wheel that shows you a color, for example, orange. And if you go directly straight across the circle on the, if you go right through the center, straight across, you'll see that orange or yellows are in complement with blues, right? For example. Let me show you a better color wheel to make the sense of this better. Let's try color wheel number, let's try number 1. Number 1 might be simpler. Let's download it here. Seem to have been trouble here with the internet. What else is new, right? Oh, let's click the allow. Maybe that's what the problem was. There we go. All right, so let's click this color wheel. And yeah, this one's a little simpler. And the idea here is like, for example, if you look at the green, the 4 different greens, if you go straight across the circle to the other side in a straight line from the greens, you get the reds. Those are complements. Whatever straight across, if you draw a straight line from that piece of pie to the piece of pie on the other side, right? Blue violet, for example, you go to the yellow oranges. Blues, you go to the oranges. Yellow green, you go to the red violets. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select from the blues and the oranges and these different tones here. All right, so I'm going to leave this handy. I'm going to just make it smaller. Let's minimize that. Close that. And let's bring our project back up here and take a look here. So in my project, let me zoom out just a hair here. I'm going to take these darker values and turn them into maybe that dark blue, maybe one of those tones on the color wheel. So let me go over here to my foreground, try to get it to, man, that's pretty close already. That looks pretty good. Maybe bring in a little more of the violet. That looks pretty good. So I'm going to click OK on that. So I've got that blue for my darkest values. Now what I can do, let's zoom in just a little bit on the image. Now I can grab my magic wand tool, click once on there, and make sure contiguous is selected, which it is. And that's just above my image, the word contiguous. Make sure it's checked so it won't get more things than you want. You just want to grab the areas that are enclosed by the lines. So there you go, there's one. Now I'm going to hold down Shift, and while I'm holding Shift, click on another dark area, and notice there it's being selected. While I'm holding Shift, I'm selecting all the areas that I want to colorize into that color. And notice there it grabbed a little more above me there. So we're off to a good start here, and most of these are done. Okay. Okay, so it looks like I've got all the bottom of the shirt there and the beard a little bit. So I'm going to fill that in. One more here. Hold down Shift. I'm going to fill this in before I do any other selections there. Grab my paint can. This time I'm going to go up and make sure contiguous is deselected, which it is. So if I uncheck contiguous, if I need to uncheck contiguous, now when I click on the paint can, it'll fill them all in one shot. So you can see there they're all filled because continuous was off with my paint can. Okay, so I'll do the same thing with these darker values. Again, I'm going to go into, I'm going to grab the magic wand tool. If you want to deselect all these areas that you already filled in, you can just click Control D. And now I'm going to go and start selecting the darker areas just above here in the beard and the mustache. And in the eyes here, you can see there's some darker areas to be had. Let's zoom in just to make sure we're getting it all. Magic wand again. Hold down Shift. Okay, and might as well get some of this while we're at it. I'm holding Shift again. So it's doing a good job grabbing those areas. I haven't had to adjust anything, which is nice. Okay, let's fill that in before we lose all of our selections, and we'll finish the rest. Okay, so we got all that. Now again, I have just a few more over here. Let's just grab the magic wand. Okay, and click. That'll take care of that. Again, Shift, click. And I think that's it on the darkest values. So I'm going to go ahead and fill that in. And Control D to deselect it, or you can go up here to select, click on it and choose deselect. Okay, so let's zoom out and look at it. And notice there how much color I've already filled in. Just simply holding shift and selecting all those areas. So taking a look now, if I bring the slider back down, you can see that there's a lighter value here that we need to deal with. So on that one, I'm going to use a lighter blue. Okay, and that's, you can see there's quite a bit of that tone in here, value. So let's go ahead and select that area, or let's, better yet, let's change our color here. Let's go maybe about, well, that might be a good tone. About right there, maybe. Let's try that. Maybe a little lighter. Click OK. And now we're going to grab our magic wand tool. Again, make sure contiguous is selected with the magic wand. And we're going to grab those areas. So there. Oh, look at that. And it got just about all of it, which is awesome. And there. Now, we didn't want this area right here, though. So it's getting more than we want. So I'm going to go ahead and Control D, deselect it. I'm going to go up to my tolerance value up on top there. It's just to the left of contiguous, and change my tolerance number to 10. I'm going to bring that number down so it doesn't select as much. So if you change your tolerance to a lower number, it should help you only select what you need. This area looks like it belongs in that too. And notice there it selected all of that there. And that's because I didn't draw an outline around that. So that was my fault there. But that's okay. We can get all of that. And then draw this here. And I think we're ready to go. So now I'll grab my paint can. Contiguous is not selected. That's what we want. And we're just going to fill that in. And instantly we get that blue all filled in. Deselect. And now let's drag our slider up and look at it. Our opacity slider in our layers window. So again, bring that up to 100%. And you can see we're already off on a roll with the blues. That color was a little darker than I'd wanted, but you know, I can always change that. I can always go back in, or I can hit Control Z, for example. Control Z again. Now I still have my selection, but now I can go up here and make it even lighter. That's probably better. So now I'm going to grab my paint can. Contiguous is not selected. One more time, click. And now we've got a lighter value. Let's take a look at that. Much better. Okay. All right, so I'm going to keep going with this, and I'm going to also incorporate, if you look at this color wheel, I'm going to go directly across. That blue is a lighter blue, so probably in that, there's probably going to be a different shade of red that I'm going to need somewhere. So what I'm going to do is look at what this color's complement is, and let me show you how to do that. You can just zoom in to your image. And let's just take a look. Let's go up to select again, or better yet, let's use the Marquee selection tool, the rectangular Marquee tool. It's just below the move tool on the top of the toolbar. And let's select an area of that color, which I'm doing right here on the shirt. And then choose Control plus I together, and that gives you your direct complement. So that's the complementary color. It's kind of an orangish brown. So we want to find a tone that matches that orangish brown in the spectrum of the other colors. Okay, so I'm going to, and I hit Control Z to undo it. Control Z, okay, to bring it back to the regular color. Okay, so we're going to zoom out here. Hold down Alt. And again, let's bring the opacity down on our image and find out where we can use that tone. It's not the lightest tone. So we'll probably use it in this slightly darker one. And yeah, that should work. So let's do that. Let's grab this here. So make sure you're on the top layer, of course. Grab your Magic Wand tool and select those tones that you want to make kind of a brownish orange. Okay, that's the same value there. Probably this one here. Yeah, right there. And there's some up here. That's all good right there. And then down in here, of course, in the mouth area, I'm holding shift again. That looks pretty good. And maybe these areas down here, I'll keep those a shade of blue. Actually, that would be good to, let's colorize these too at the bottom in the shirt area. Let's zoom in. Notice there I don't lose my selections when I zoom in. Now let's grab the magic wand. Grab those little areas. Dang. Hard to get those. There we go. All right, now let's grab that, make that color. It's kind of a brownish red. Actually, that's pretty close right there. And you can see that if you do this, when you're doing this in the color swatches here, you'll see the complement right next to it. So again, if I bring up the opacity slider, let me cancel this for a second. Let me show you what I mean. If I bring up the opacity slider here, you can see the actual color that's right next to it, that lighter blue. So now when I bring up the color swatch for the foreground color, you can actually see its complement right next to it. So if you match that little blue square up to our shade here, it's pretty darn close. So I'm just going to select that, grab my paint can. Contiguous is not selected. Click in those areas and instantly it starts giving you those tones. Okay, now we can zoom out and take a look at it. So I'm going for complementary colors here. Now another color that I'm going to need to deal with is the complement to the darker blue. So let me show you how I'd look at that. Again, I'd grab the Marquee selection tool. Select an area of the darkest blue and then choose Control plus I together. And that's kind of very similar to the other tone, but lighter. Okay, so I'm not sure where I can use that, but I'm going to try to find a spot where that will work as well. Okay, so it's almost a yellow. It's a lighter tone. And I could use that in the lighter areas. Almost a fleshier tone, yeah. Okay, so let's go ahead and click on these lighter areas and we'll make those a complement to the darker blues. So let me grab, let's grab the magic wand tool here. Again, select the lightest areas in our canvas here, or lighter areas. I'm not sure if I'm doing all these selections right. Let me grab there we go. We want to see that. So I don't want that area. So let me Control D. Let's try it again. So I'm going to grab this area. This one. Oops. It's like the teeth there. And then the nose and the cheeks. Parts of the ears. Looks like I need to zoom in a little more. There we go. Okay, hold down shift. Well, grab the magic wand first. Sorry about that. Hold down shift. Get those areas that you want to shade in. You might have to click several times in the area to get all of the pixels. That looks pretty good. Oh, above the eyebrow here, or near the eyebrow, yeah. And this one. So far, so good. Let's fill that in. Again, we want a lighter, almost a yellow. It was very close to the other one. It was more like that. Let's even go lighter with it, too, just to make it stand out a little more. Maybe bring more red into it. Something like that. Click OK, grab your paint can. And notice there it fills it all in one shot. Okay. And it looks like that area probably could be the same. So I'm going to grab my magic wand, select that area, fill that in as well. Grab my paint can, click in there, and it's done. Okay, so let's go ahead and deselect that. Now we'll zoom out and you get the idea of how this is coming out. You can see a lot of complementary colors going on there. So let's bring up the opacity here. So you can see that the colors are really vibrating off of each other just by creating some of those, using these different colors. We're getting a nice color scheme going on here. Again, just depends on what color scheme you want to use, but that's how you're going to proceed forward. So I'm going to keep going with this. Then when I come back, I'll show you some final touches we can use to finish this thing off.